In late March 2025, the war zone reported a significant buildup of US aircraft at the British military base on Diego Garcia, a remote British island base in the Indian Ocean. Up to 12 B-2 Spirits were deployed to undisclosed Pacific locations, marking what may be the largest operational concentration of B-2s to date. At least 5, possibly more, were confirmed at Diego Garcia. This is not routine. It's a calculated geopolitical signal directed at Iran and Ansar Allah, the Houthi movement in Yemen. Here's why this deployment matters. As of early April 2025, tensions between the US and Iran have escalated. The collapse of the Israel-Gaza ceasefire has reignited Houthi activity in Yemen, disrupting Red Sea international shipping lanes. In response, US carrier-based airstrikes have resumed, targeting Houthi infrastructure. Beyond naval aviation, reports suggest that long-range assets like B-2 bombers and F-22s have flown missions in the region, the latter likely in air superiority roles. The USS Carl Vinson and elements of Carrier Strike Group 1 are en route to the CENTCOM 5th Fleet Area of Responsibility, crossing the Sulu Sea. This brings electronic warfare systems, guided missile destroyers, and over 60 multi-role fighters into the fold. US intelligence maintains that the Houthi operate independently, though they receive Iranian support. Despite White House claims, agencies do not assess Iran as directly controlling Houthi attacks. Simultaneously, conflicting intelligence assessments are shaping US policy. While the Wall Street Journal reports no evidence of current Iranian nuclear ambitions, other sources claim Iran could produce weapons-grade fissile material in weeks if it chooses. To such claims, the Iranian leadership have pushed back, claiming that they have no nuclear ambitions, but if the threat of war is on the horizon, they may pursue these options. President Trump has issued an ultimatum. Iran has until mid-May to return to nuclear negotiations or face military action. The clock is ticking. Following a dramatic mass launch, 12 B-2s departed the US, the largest ever publicized deployment of the aircraft. Roughly 17 of 20 B-2s are currently operational, meaning this movement represents a majority of the fleet. At least 6 have been spotted at Diego Garcia via satellite imagery, parked in the open alongside KC-135 tankers. Up to 7 are rumored to be on the island, possibly with additional aircraft stored in hardened shelters. Other possible staging posts could include Anderson Air Force Base in Guam and RAAF Base Tyndall in the Australian Northern Territory. Normally, B-2s are housed in climate-controlled hangars due to the fragile nature of their radar-absorbent coatings. Parking them outside, exposed to tropical heat and salt air, is almost certainly deliberate, a visual message to any adversary monitoring satellite traffic. The deployment of B-2 Spirits to Diego Garcia is not just symbolic, it's strategically transformative. Their value lies in a combination of range, stealth, payload, and mission versatility that no other bomber can match. The B-2's greatest strength is its stealth. With an exceptionally low radar cross-section and infrared signature, it's designed to penetrate the most heavily defended airspace in the world. Unlike its predecessor, the F-117, the B-2 has never publicly failed in its stealth role across multiple combat theaters, from Kosovo to Libya. It's built to remain invisible, even over battlefields saturated with radar and anti-air defenses. Its aerodynamic flying wing shape, specialized coatings, and low observable design allow it to avoid detection by nearly all current radar systems. Another critical advantage is altitude. The B-2 can operate at high altitudes, well above the effective ceiling of blind anti-aircraft fire, a threat that plagued F-117s in earlier conflicts like Desert Storm. Combined with modern avionics, GPS-guided targeting systems, and pre-planned autonomous mission profiles, the B-2 can deliver pinpoint strikes without the need for visible confirmation or prolonged loiter time. Range is another factor. The B-2 can fly over 6,000 miles, almost 10,000 kilometers, unrefueled. With aerial refueling, its mission endurance is virtually global. In fact, the current record for a B-2 combat sortie stands at over 44 hours, executed during Operation Enduring Freedom. That mission involved launching from the US, striking targets in Afghanistan, refueling, and returning, all without ever landing. This flexibility allows B-2s to operate from secure bases and still hit time-sensitive or high-value targets worldwide. But perhaps the most unique threat the B-2 poses to Iran is its ability to deliver the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator, or MOP. a 30,000-pound bunker-busting bomb. This weapon, while lacking a void-sensing fuse for precise mid-structure detonation, offers unparalleled penetration. It's designed to defeat deeply buried and hardened targets, such as underground air bases or fortified nuclear facilities. The MOP can reportedly penetrate over 60 meters of concrete before detonation. Even if it overshoots the precise depth of a target, the resulting explosion would still cause catastrophic damage, cracking structural foundations, rupturing pipelines, disabling power and air systems. For facilities that require absolute precision to function, even indirect structural damage could be mission-killing. Repairing that kind of destruction underground could take months, if not longer, and could completely halt nuclear development efforts. I'd like to take a moment to tell you about our epic giveaway. Thanks to our friends at the military shop, we're giving away 2 incredible RAAF-approved A2 leather flight jackets. Crafted from premium soft goatskin leather, these beauties are inspired by the iconic US World War II A2 design. We've got one up for grabs for our international fans and another for our Aussie viewers. Plus, if you're RAAF personnel, your jacket comes with hook and loop panels for patches, fully approved for uniform wear. Entry is totally free, but for extra chances to win, join us as a member at peacemaker.fashion. Head to darlitsmedia.com/giveaways to enter. Links in the description below. Don't miss out. Good luck, and thanks for supporting the channel. This is why the B-2, and specifically its pairing with the MOP, is such a pointed threat to Iran. It's not just a strike capability, it's a deeply strategic tool for neutralizing the very systems and infrastructure that Iran relies on to safeguard its most sensitive programs. The deployment of these bombers to Diego Garcia, within striking range of the Middle East, adds a layer of pressure that's hard to ignore. Given the scale of US air power now positioned at Diego Garcia, particularly with B-2 spirits in theater, the question arises, what can Iran realistically do in response? The honest answer? Not much, at least not directly. Once airborne, B-2 bombers are virtually untouchable. Their stealth technology gives them a distinct advantage not only over Iranian radar systems, but over most global air defense networks. This radar evasion capability is a known and long-standing concern for Iran. US aircraft have routinely operated near or within Iranian airspace without ever being detected until they chose to reveal themselves. One well-known example came in 2013. An Iranian attempt to intercept a US MQ-1 Predator drone over the Gulf ended with 2 American F-22 Raptors shadowing the intercepting Iranian F-4 Phantoms. The Raptors reportedly flew beneath the Iranian jets undetected for a time before one casually pulled up alongside and radioed a warning, "You really ought to go home." The Iranians never knew they were there until the Americans made their presence known. That incident illustrated both the stealth superiority of the US Air Force and the glaring technological gap that Iran faces. In terms of a direct military counter to B-2 operations at Diego Garcia, Iran lacks long-range strike options. Its missile arsenal, while substantial regionally, doesn't extend far enough to threaten a base deep in the Indian Ocean. Publicly available information confirms that Iran has no precision strike capabilities that can reach Diego Garcia, either by land or sea-launched systems. In theory, Iran could attempt to get closer by sea, using missile-equipped vessels to shorten the engagement range. However, such a move would be highly visible and immediately challenged by US and allied naval forces. The United States Indo-Pacific Command has already stated that Diego Garcia is protected by multi-layered defenses, likely including ship-based Aegis missile systems, terminal high-altitude area defense interceptors, and Patriot batteries. This makes any kind of seaborne strike a near impossible gamble. So if Iran can't hit the bombers directly, how else might it respond? There are a few options, none of them clean. One possibility is a retaliatory strike or provocation elsewhere in the region. Iran could target US personnel or assets stationed in nearby Gulf states like Qatar, Bahrain, or the UAE. These bases are within range of Iran's short and medium-range missiles and could be hit with limited warning. This wouldn't stop the B-2s, but it could serve as a form of asymmetric pressure, raising the cost of US action by threatening regional escalation. There's also the possibility of a preemptive strike, if Iran believed an American bombing campaign was imminent. While this would be a bold move, it's not out of the question. Iranian military leaders, including the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Aerospace Force Commander Amir Ali Hajizadeh, have repeatedly stated that American forces and bases in the region would be legitimate targets in the event of open conflict. Whether Iran would actually act on such a threat remains uncertain, but the rhetoric is there. Ultimately, Iran's real leverage doesn't lie in direct confrontation, it lies in regional disruption. By threatening shipping lanes in the Strait of Hormuz or supporting proxy forces in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon or Yemen, Iran can make the cost of military escalation uncomfortably high for the US and its allies. But when it comes to deterring or neutralizing B-2 bombers deployed to Diego Garcia, Iran's options are extremely limited, and that's precisely why this deployment matters so much. The deployment of B-2 Spirits to Diego Garcia isn't just another routine military movement. It's a strategic message written in stealth and payload. With up to a dozen aircraft mobilized and as many as 7 confirmed on the ground at the remote Indian Ocean base, this marks one of the largest forward B-2 deployments in US history. And it didn't happen in a vacuum. With tensions rising between Iran and the United States, Houthi activity disrupting Red Sea shipping lanes, and the resumption of US airstrikes in Yemen, the region is already teetering on the edge of escalation. The presence of these long-range, virtually undetectable bombers, armed potentially with deep penetrating bunker busters like the GBU-57 MOP, sends a very clear signal. If diplomacy fails, the US has strike options on the table that Iran is neither equipped to match nor defend against. Iran's countermeasures are limited. It lacks the reach to threaten Diego Garcia directly, and its air defenses remain ill-suited to stop the B-2 once it's airborne. At best, Iran can respond indirectly, through asymmetric threats to US forces in the Gulf via proxy actions or by stoking instability across the region. But none of those options change the fundamental imbalance the B-2 represents. This is the quiet power of the Spirit bomber, not just its ability to strike undetected, but its psychological impact. The knowledge that it can appear from nowhere, hit with precision, and vanish again without a trace. The fact that multiple aircraft are parked in plain view on the apron at Diego Garcia is no accident. It's a calculated show of force meant to be seen by satellites, by foreign analysts, and by anyone wondering what happens if negotiations fail. Whether this standoff leads to renewed diplomacy or open conflict remains to be seen. But with B-2s in play, the strategic calculus has shifted. For Iran, and for the region, the rules of engagement have just changed.